My name is Buffy Catella, and this week I'm joined with Diane Kane, and she's here to talk about her newest book. I'm very excited. Thank you, Diane, for coming on to the show today.
Thanks, Buffy, for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's just jump right in. What is the title of your newest book, and what is it about?
Well, my book, Gateau, has actually been out for about a year, and it might be hard to see with my screen. So I'm going to share screen and show you some of it. So my first book is Gateau, the three-legged cat of Seborga. And the idea for Gateau came from my friend, Linda McCluskey, who I had not seen in 40 years, but I saw her on Facebook, and she had moved to Seborga, Italy, where she was an artist and she became a very successful artist. She has a studio in Paris as well. And so I friended her on Facebook, and I kept seeing her post pictures of this cat and this three-legged cat. And what happened was Gateau was a street cat, and she befriended him, and he had an accident, and the doctor said that he would be fine, but he would have 3 legs instead of 4. So, and I'll show you some of the beautiful illustrations that she did for the book. This is the little village of Seborga, Italy, and this is Gateau sleeping in the sun, and he was curious to see the artist, and he took a leap too far, and she brought him to the vet. And afterwards, after he healed, he had to make a decision whether he was fine. He could run again and do all the things that he used to do. But so it's the lesson not only in taking help from someone, but also in accepting love. And so he could see that the artist loved him, and he chose to stay with the artist. And that's the story, the real story of Gateau and my friend Linda. And I asked her, could I write a story about Gateau, a children's story? And she said, please do. And she illustrated the beautiful illustrations. And it's just been such a great experience, because we did the book in Spanish and Italian and French, and I worked with all the translators, and they just fell in love with the story. And it's a rhyming story, so it wasn't easy for them to translate, but each one of them in each country was, they were all known to Linda and friends of Linda. So they worked with us, and they did a beautiful job of keeping the theme of the story, but also rhyming it in each language. So it was really a wonderful thing to bring this cat from so many miles away to so many people, and his story of overcoming obstacles and really accepting differences and accepting people with unique abilities.
He is so cute. Like, seeing the real photo of him, he's adorable. I didn't even.
Yeah, it's so funny. And that, to see the pictures, like the illustrations of Linda's garden and Linda actually in the garden. And then Gateau, that he really is, he dreams big, and that's his message, that you can have things that are different and things that are wrong, but you can still be everything you can be. And and um and that's children and adults. I think that I have just as many adults who love the story as children do. So you can follow Don Gateau on his own Facebook page and see pictures of him. And this is all the different books in all the different languages. And next, I've written the sequel to Don Gateau, which is going to be Don Gateau and his uniquely perfect friends. And Linda's working on those illustrations now.
So what's that going to be about? Is that going to be about obviously his friends?
Well, each one, it's funny because Linda and I talked about the different animals that are in this little village in Saborga, Italy. It's right perched above the Mediterranean Sea in northern Italy, and it's really above it's near France, and it's in the Aegean Sea. And there's just about 500 people there, but they're all very close. And there's a bunch of different animals there, and there's a dog, and there's chickens and a donkey, and each one of them has a different ability that they either have a hard time seeing or hearing, or they're just shy. And so each one of these animals kind of brings a different ability to the book, and how of accepting that, and that they were all friends, and that together that makes them stronger and braver.
So have you seen a lot of success with the book because you have it translated in different languages also, or is it?
It's yeah. When people write books and I self-published, and then all of a sudden you have to market them, and that's the realization of, oh my gosh, how am I going to get the word out to people, and how am I going to sell this book? And I think that we used to do in-person book events and library events and things like that. And that was the way of selling books. But nowadays, in the past year, I haven't been able to do that. So I've had to look into other ways of doing that. And really, it's been fortunate and really a fun thing to do, because I'm connecting with people all over the world. And especially because Don Gateau is set in Italy, I've found different ways on social media and other places to be able to market the book and get it to people that speak Italian and speak Spanish and speak French. So it's been interesting. It's a challenge, but it's fun, and it's fun connecting and meeting people that I would have never met before through Don Gateau.
Back to your book specifically, you said you self-published. Is there a reason why you decided to do that rather than go through a publisher?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of important. People who are writing and thinking about publishing, there are a lot of options, but I think that they should really look at all the options and consider them. Traditional publishing has always been difficult to get into. There's only so many publishing companies, and there's only so many people that they decide to publish a year. And you can be a really great writer, and they just don't have room for you, or it's not what they're looking for at the time. So, and I have a lot of friends that are authors, and some of them are traditionally published. And the truth is that unless you're a big author, you don't really make any more money than if you self-publish. It's all work, it's all hard, And there's no like easy formula to get rich quick, and no matter how good your book is. If you traditionally publish, it's really a timeline of 1 to 2 years before you get published, from the time they even accept you until you get published. So it's a long period of time. There's, they could give you an advance, but once they give you an advance, your book has to sell that much before you make any more money. So it's not really that you're going to get a lot of money, and the advances aren't as big as they used to be. So going self-publishing is a quicker, and you have more control. As far as the illustrated books, most of the publishers will only accept manuscripts. They don't accept manuscripts with illustrations. They have their own illustrators, which in some ways is good because you don't have to pay for an illustrator if you get a traditional, but you have no say in what the illustrations look like, no say in what your cover looks like. So I guess probably I'm more like control. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I like doing my own things, and I like getting things done more quickly. Though I have to say, with self-publishing, you do have to take your time to make sure you do the things right so that you have a quality product. And that does take steps, to do. So it's not I don't think it's a quick process. Some people do it quick, but then they're redoing and re-editing, and I rather have a quality product out the first time. I started in self-publishing because I'm in a group of published authors, and I was very lucky because I've written forever, but I had never been published until about 6-7 years ago, when I was invited into a group of authors, women authors who are amazing. And I really encourage people who are writing to find groups, because the groups are such support, and we give support to each other. And these women are in all genres. They're memoirs, fiction, mystery, humor. So I got a really good idea of all the ways of publishing and writing, and they helped me to kind of refine my writing. And I really haven't found my way, because I do all different genres. I'm doing children's books right now, but I've done written sci-fi, I've written mystery, I've written humor. So, and I have my stories published in a lot of different publications, like anthologies and magazines. So, and there's money in that. And I don't think that a lot of writers realize that. They think they have to write the book. I always thought, oh, I have to write a book. And there's just so many publications looking for short stories, and they pay. So, and it's great practice to, even if you want to write a book, it's great practice to start out and to build up your resume toward writing that book. So I started out being in different anthologies, having short stories in Goose River Anthology, Written Tales magazine. And that, gave me a start and gave me some confidence. And the writers group that I'm in with all the ladies, a lot of them have been published. They've published their own books, but they've also published in magazines such as Alfred Hitchcock magazine, Women's World magazine, Good Old Days, things like that. Well, one of my friends in the group, Kathy Chincherik, wanted to have all her mystery and short stories in one book. They're flash fiction, and flash fiction is usually under 1,000 words or under 1,500 words, whatever they set. And so that was her dream, to have all of her stories in a book. And I'm all about dreams. So I was like, Kathy, we're going to do that. We're going to make a book and we're going to put all of your stories in it. And she's more on the shy side. So she said, well, if you write 10 stories, then I'll put 10 stories in mine. So I didn't have actually 10 stories. I had a few mystery short stories. And I said, all right, so I had to get to work writing stories, and we went to our group and said, anybody else interested? And this was just a crazy idea, an adventure that I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn how to self-publish a book. And two other girls in the group, Sharon Harmon and Phyllis Cochran, said, yeah, sure, we'll write some stories. So we all wrote the stories, and it was Kathy's idea to call it Flash in the Can, Flash for flash fiction in the can, because they're sometimes known as bathroom readers because they're short stories. And so this is our first book of short stories, and they're all fun, fast mysteries with a punch at the end. And we had really great success with this. We did many book events. We were in Barnes and Noble in Leominster with it, and we had so much fun because I designed the cover. I said I want to have an outhouse on it with the lightning coming through the crescent moon. Originally, it was Kathy's daughter who did the designing, did the InDesign for us, but I asked for all this, and she had a hunter's orange hunter's jacket on here, and my husband said, no, you need the black and red wool coat, because he loves his black and red wool coat. So I took it out of the closet, I took a picture of it, and Cindy put it on the cover for us. And that became our what we were known for. We all wore the black, which was great because at that time Buffalo check came into famous, and everybody was wearing it, so it was easy for us to get coats and hats and everything else. So all of our events, we went dressed and we were Flash in the Can, and it was just so much fun. We had a lot of fun at all the events, and we did a second one, Flash in the Can 2, with the two outhouses and the two buffalo check plaid. And we would not just talk about our books, but we would also talk about our journey in writing and doing self-publishing. And we would give support and advice to other writers who came to our events. So that was a lot of fun. And so I learned how to format the books inside, and we did everything we could by ourselves. Kathy's daughter did the covers for us. But the biggest thing, we spent money, we got an editor. And I think that's the most important thing that a lot of self-publishers skip. They say they don't have the money for an editor, but you really can't afford not to have an editor. It doesn't matter how good you are or how many of your friends look at it. You can't see the little things. Now, I was in a group of 12 women who were did editing and publishing, and they all went over our books. But when I hired the final editor, she still found little things that make a difference on how people look at your book and how people see it. So editing is, that I can't say enough for. Even if you're self-publishing, don't skip the editor. So we spent money on an editor, and very little though to really get these books published, because I did the formatting. Now, some people, they're not as good with computers, so you would have to hire a formatter, but really it's not as expensive as some people think, because there are companies out there that will charge you a lot of money to self-publish your books. They're going to do it beginning to end, and you're going to have to buy 1,000 books or 500 books. That's in the whole contract, and they're charging you thousands, and that's really not necessary. It's the difference between if you're building a house and you hire a big name contractor and they're doing all the work and they're charging you for that, but you can really do a lot of the things yourself, and you can connect with people who can do formatting, who can do covers for $100, formatting for a few $100s. It's not thousands. Your editor, um, you can get a good editor for $100, $200, and it's not thousands. So I really encourage people who are thinking about self-publishing to, look at all the options and don't jump for a company that said, "Oh, I want to publish you," because they just really want your money. So we started out with, flash in the can, and then I became involved with another nonprofit writers group who it's called Quabbin Quills. And I also would like to encourage people to look up quabbinquills.org on Facebook or online, because it's a great nonprofit writers group. And how this came to be was, it started for me with the very first story I had in Goose River Anthology. And so I was a published author, and our local library here, I live in Phillipston, and I go to Athol Library, and they had a meet the authors night, and I was invited, and there was a lot of authors there who had books and coloring books and all kinds of different authors. And one of the authors there was Steve Piscatello, and he afterwards, after that night, he got in touch with all of us, and he said he had a dream of starting a writers group, a nonprofit writers group, to help other authors become published and to eventually give scholarships to seniors graduating and going into writing. So and he wanted to do free workshops. So he asked us all, and 4 of us answered his call, and we came together. And it was actually five, and him and 4 of us came together, and we had no idea what we were doing. But we had Steve's guidance and his dream, and we couldn't have been a better group, because in it, Steve did all the work for all the paperwork for the nonprofit, which was just endless and is still endless. And one of the authors that came had a little self-publishing company, so he helped us with the formatting and all that. And one of them was actually a professional editor, Miriam, and she did the editing on the first couple books. And then one of them was an artist, so she did the covers on the first books. And we've done an anthology every year. This was the first one, Times Reservoir, and they were local authors. What I didn't think I really had anything to bring to the table, but what I did was I had a lot of connections. I knew a lot of other writers that some of them were well published, and some of them had never been published. And so I brought a lot of the writers to the book, which was thrilling. I was the submissions coordinator on the first 2 books. And the second one was Mountains and Meditation, and the third, Voices the Valley. And we're just about to publish the 4th one, which is Beyond the Pathways. So I got to work with all the writers and just really give them encouragement, help them, and to see them published in these books was just fantastic. It's been so fun. And we've gotten other writers. We expanded out. At first it was local to this area, and then we expanded out to Massachusetts, and now really New England, all the New England states we've gotten writers from. We just ended the submissions for the next book, but next year we'll be doing another book. So I really encourage people to look it up and become involved. We actually last year made enough to offer scholarships to local seniors. So that was a great thrill. And it's just been a fun experience.
That's so wonderful. It seems like you're kind of involved with all different things, and that's really interesting to see. And I'm guessing I'm more interested in now, what is your story? Where are you from? And how did you end up in all these writing groups and things?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've written since I was young, and I just always really liked writing. I grew up in Gardner, Mass, and I had a lot of teachers. I can't say enough how important teachers are for encouraging kids that it stays with you forever. I had a teacher, Mrs. Rogers, who was my English teacher and my creative writing teacher at Gardner High School. And she had just so much confidence in me and my writing that even though I didn't, it was years before I got published, her influence never left me. It was always the driving force that said, if she believed in me, then I can believe in me. So teachers are very important. And I moved to Phillipston, Mass, about 42 years ago. We built a house here and raised two children, and life kind of just gets busy. I was a rural mail carrier for 25 years, which I loved. I delivered mail in the country, and I got a lot of stories um, from delivering the mail and all the people that I met. Some people out in the country, I would be the only person they would see all day long. So I had a lot of elderly customers, which were very inspiring, and just a lot of funny stories and nature stories. I'm working on a book that I'm working on a book that's called Molly the Mail Carrier. It meets Fiona the Fearless, and Fiona the Fearless is a spider. So that one is with the illustrator right now. So that'll be coming out maybe early next year. But I loved my job as a mail carrier, and I wrote all the time that I was, raising my kids and just doing and working. But it wasn't until I got injured on the job. I fell down and I hurt my shoulder. I had to have a shoulder operation. So I was out of work for 6 months. And that was the time when I really got to invited to be in this writers group with all these authors, women authors. And that really changed everything because, I had taken classes in writing, I had gone to different workshops, but to really have that one-on-one support, and they really took me under their wings and saw something in me that they just wanted me published, and we worked at that. And I listened. I really, it's hard to put your work out there and let somebody else critique it or give you suggestions, but you really have to be open to that, because that's the biggest thing as an author, that you need to in order to be published, you need to do that, and it's not easy, but it's good when you have a group that supports you like that. And from there, I just have not stopped. I did work a few more years, but I've been retired for 3 years now. And, now I just have the time, and my children are grown. My grandchildren are Casey and Finn. They live in Bolton, Mass, and they are such a great help to me with my children's books. They give me a lot of suggestions and support in that, and that's been a lot of fun working with them. So, it took me a long time to get here, but I'm just having a great time writing. I write all kinds of different things. I'm always submitting stories to different publications, and I get a lot of rejections. And then sometimes you get that, we want your story, and it's a great feeling.
So speaking of that, I guess not rejection, but when you get into things and you're you get accepted in publications want to publish your work. I'm curious about what is your goal as a writer, because it seems like you've done a lot. And is there a certain milestone that you want to reach with your writing?
It keeps going. I keep reaching those milestones. First was to be published, and then it was to publish a children's book, and I've always wanted to do that. And my next children's book that I'm just about to publish, it should be in a few weeks, is Braden the Brave, and that's another wonderful story. I've just been really blessed with these stories that come to me that are very meaningful to me, and I hope help others. And Braden the Brave, I actually wrote about 8 years ago because my cousin's grandson was born with medical issues that he had to go to Children's Hospital and have multiple operations. And so I wrote it for him and for the family to give them support. And it was that, Braden was a little scared, but with the help of and love of family and friends, Braden is brave. So that's the reoccurring theme through it. And that he's a little scared of the doctor, but the doctor and the nurses smile and tell him how brave he is and how strong he is. So Braden is brave. And I hope that it's taken me a long time, because originally I did the book with photographs of Braden, and we did it on Snapfish, and we did a few copies, and they actually brought it to Children's Hospital in Boston, and they loved it there, and they wanted a few copies for their waiting room. So those are there with the pictures, but I didn't have the money for an illustrator. I didn't know who to illustrate. And it was actually a good thing that it kind of brewed for a while, because I did send it out to a couple of traditional publishers, and, they would answer back and say, it's too personal. It needs to be more universal. And so over the years, I've worked with it, and I've made it rewritten it so that it does cover more than just actually Braden, and hopefully relates to a lot of children who are going, and families who are going through these medical issues. So that was good. And then I happened to be selling Flash in the Can at a couple different events, craft fairs and things. And I met Siri Payton, who is an artist, and a young artist. And I said to her, I have a children's book, and maybe we could get together. But it went on for 2 years. I kept seeing her. And then finally, I brought him to her. And she has worked with me, and she has just really brought Braden the Brave to life. So it's been a lot of fun with that. And I'm going to try to share that picture with you and see if I can. Oh, yeah. Let me see. Can you see that one?
Yeah, I can see it.
This is Braden the Brave. This is the cover of Braden the Brave. So, and I just love the way, she did the cape. My grandchildren love the pictures of the cape, and the cape is kind of goes through each page. The cape flows through each page. So it's I hope it gives a lot of comfort, and it's very simple, so young kids can read it themselves, or it's very repetitive, so kids can read along with it. And I'm hoping that it'll help kids to be brave like Braden, and that when they're a little scared, they'll think of Braden. So that's been a great accomplishment that's taken over 8 years. So that was one of my big goals that was achieved. And, all the other ones of doing the anthologies and doing the Flash in the Cans were great goals. I do have like 3 manuscripts that I've begun and that are in the drawer. So I guess if ever I get time, I would like to finish a novel. But in the meantime, I'm having a lot of fun helping others. I helped my friend Sharon do her children's book, Horatio Mortimer, Love Music, and Phyllis Cochran. Both of these authors were in Flash in the Can with me, and we did this one. And for her, it's Whose Cat Is That? So I have a lot of goals of just helping other people that I know to achieve their dreams. And if I never write a novel, that's okay too. But I suppose that would be my ultimate goal.
That's so wonderful. I don't know if I have any follow-up questions related to that. I'm just wondering, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, I also write articles for the Uniquely Quabbin magazine. This is kind of a local magazine around the Quabbin area, but it's a beautiful magazine. You can actually find it in Fitchburg and other places. It comes out 4 times a year. And I feel I really like doing this. I started out with them a couple years ago, writing articles about restaurant reviews. And I would go, they want, when you write an article, I have to choose a person or a business from the North Quabbin towns and one from the South Quabbin towns to balance out. So I've done a lot of, traveling to do that in the times when we could do that. But also now I do them online, or I talk to people and get my articles done like that. But the restaurant business is kind of hard. So right now, I haven't done restaurant articles for a couple issues, but I did some other articles with interviewing authors, which was really fun to me. And then I also just did, which will be in the May issue, young entrepreneurs. So I met some online, I met some children, 8 or 9 years old, who are selling eggs on the side of the road or selling uh, uh, kindling wood. So I'm looking forward to seeing my articles about them and their pictures in the next Uniquely Quabbin magazine. So there's just so many opportunities for writers that I don't think they realize out there for writing for magazines. Chicken Soup for the Soul. There's just there's opportunities for short stories, fiction, nonfiction, and mystery. And so, get in groups and find connections. That's my advice to other writers.
Do you have any social media that you want to plug or talk about, or a way people can buy your books?
Sure. I am on Facebook, Page of Possibilities, and I named my Facebook and my website is Write of Possibilities, because at the time when I made them, I thought there are all possibilities, everything's possible, and it's true. So I started out encouraging other writers, and I still just really encourage other writers, and try to give information not only about my own books, but about opportunities for other writers.
Well, thank you so much, Diane. I've had a great time. This has been very informative to me, and I'm very interested in all the work you're doing. So I'm excited to see what new books you have coming your way. When can we expect your next book?
Brave and the Brave will actually be out on Amazon probably in 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be available on Amazon. It'll be available in all Barnes and Noble, all the online bookstores. And then as I get them, they'll be in local bookstores as well. I'm hoping to get Brave and the Brave to a lot of hospitals. And, I really love, my first, when I first started, it was to be recognized as a paid author, and the money didn't matter, but it was nice to be paid $20 an article, or $30 a story, but I achieved that. And now really it's a lot of, I give away a lot of my books to really great organizations, nonprofit organizations like Book Smiles, which gets books, children's books to inner city kids who wouldn't naturally get them. Hindy's Library is another great nonprofit that I donate books to because they get books to children all over the world. So I would really love to see Brave and the Brave in a lot of hospitals to help children.
No, this has been a great time. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Book Talk, and we'll see you guys later.